Everyone is watching for the wrong thing. For decades, prophecy teachers, pastors, and watchmen focused on one beast. The political beast, the global leader, the Antichrist figure rising to power. And while the world watched that door, something walked in through the window. Revelation 13 describes two beasts, not one. The second beast doesn't conquer with armies. It conquers with images, with systems, with something so embedded in daily life that removing it now feels impossible. That beast is not coming. It is here. It has been here. And it just crossed a line that changes the entire prophetic timeline. Most people think they know what Revelation 13 is about. They have heard the sermons. They have seen the movies. They know the number. They know the mark. They have been told the story so many times that they stopped actually reading the chapter. That is the problem. Because what Revelation 13 actually describes is not what most people have been taught. The details are specific, uncomfortably specific. And when those details are laid out plainly, without commentary, without tradition layered on top, something becomes very clear.
Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awe-inspiring stories of faith, survival, and miracles.
This was not written as poetry. This was not written as symbol. This was written as a blueprint, and someone has been following it. The chapter opens with a beast rising out of the sea. 10 horns, 7 heads, a mouth speaking massive claims about itself. The whole world watching in amazement. This is the beast most prophecy teachers focus on. The political beast. The system of global governance that consolidates power into fewer and fewer hands. But stop there for a moment. Because even in describing that first beast, there is a detail that gets skipped every single time. The text says the whole world followed this beast. Not a region, not a nation, the whole world. And it says they worshipped it. Not metaphorically, not spiritually. They gave it their devotion, their compliance, their participation. Think about what kind of system achieves that. Not a military dictatorship. Those create resistance. Not a political party. Those create opposition. The only system that achieves total voluntary global participation is one that people choose. One that people invite in. One that offers something they want badly enough to stop asking questions. That detail matters. Hold on to it. Because then the chapter introduces the second beast. And this is where everything changes. The second beast rises not from the sea, but from the earth. That distinction is not decorative. In prophetic language, the sea represents chaos, nations, upheaval. The earth represents something more settled, more domestic, more familiar. The second beast does not arrive through disruption. It arrives through the existing order, through structures already in place, through systems people already trust. And its function is not to rule directly. Its function is to make people serve the first beast willingly, through deception, through image, through a constructed reality so complete that people inside it cannot see the walls. This is the beast nobody talks about. This is the one already operating. And here is what makes this moment different from every other moment in history when someone has made that claim. Right now, for the first time, every single mechanism described in Revelation 13 for the second beast has a real-world equivalent. Not a rough match, not a loose interpretation, a precise, functional, operational equivalent. That is not a coincidence. That is a timeline. And you are living inside it right now. The first beast is not a mystery. It has been building for over a century. Slowly, methodically, through institutions, treaties, agreements, and organizations that most people never voted for and never approved. It wears different names depending on the decade, but the structure underneath the names has never changed. Power consolidating upward, always upward, into fewer hands, across more territory, with less accountability to the people underneath it. Look at the trajectory. After World War I, the League of Nations. After World War II, the United Nations. Then the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum. Each one presented as a solution to a crisis. Each one expanding authority beyond national borders. Each one requiring member nations to yield something, sovereignty, policy, autonomy, in exchange for participation. That is not a conspiracy. Those are public records. And here is what makes this relevant to Revelation 13. The text says the first beast was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. Not influence. Authority. The kind that supersedes local law. the kind that reaches into countries and dictates policy regardless of what the citizens of those countries want. Watch what happened during 2020 and beyond. A single health emergency, and within weeks, the entire world moved in lockstep. Same policies, same language, same restrictions, across nations that had never agreed on anything before. The coordination was not accidental. The infrastructure for that coordination had been built over decades. It was simply activated. But here is what nobody said out loud. That moment, that global compliance event, was the first beast demonstrating its reach, testing it, measuring it, and the world passed the test. Every government complied, every population submitted, and when it was over, the infrastructure did not disappear. It expanded. The surveillance expanded. The emergency powers expanded. The International Health Authority expanded. The digital identification frameworks expanded. Most people exhaled and called it over. It was not over. It was a rehearsal. And the first beast learned exactly what it needed to know. That the world would comply. That the mechanisms worked. That the population was ready. But the first beast cannot complete what Revelation 13 describes alone. It needs a partner. It needs a system that operates not through force, but through something far more effective than force. It needs the second beast. And that is where this stops being history and starts being right now. The second beast is the one that should terrify you. Not because it is violent, not because it is loud, because it is neither. It is quiet. It is helpful. It is so integrated into the fabric of daily life that most people interact with it dozens of times before breakfast. Revelation 13 describes this second beast with specific characteristics. It rises from the earth, meaning it emerges from within existing civilization, not as an external invader. It has two horns like a lamb, meaning it presents itself as gentle, beneficial, even innocent. But it speaks like a dragon, meaning its true nature, its true function, its true allegiance is something else entirely. A lamb that speaks like a dragon. That is one of the most precise descriptions in all of prophetic scripture. And it describes exactly one category of entity in the modern world. Something that presents itself as helpful, harmless, and human-serving, while operating in direct service of a system designed to control, monitor, and ultimately enslave. The second beast's primary function in Revelation 13 is described in three parts. First, it deceives. The text is explicit. It performs signs. It creates wonders. It manufactures convincing displays that lead people to make decisions they would not otherwise make. Not through force, through persuasion, through manufactured consensus, through systems that shape what people see, what people hear, and ultimately what people believe is real. Think about what system on earth today has that precise capability. Second, it directs worship toward the first beast. Not religious worship in the traditional sense. Participation worship, compliance worship, the kind where you cannot function in society without acknowledging the system's authority, where every transaction, every movement, every communication is processed through infrastructure controlled by powers you did not elect and cannot remove. Third, and this is the detail that locks everything into place, it controls economic participation. Who can buy? Who can sell? Based on allegiance to the system. That is not a future event. That framework is being constructed right now, in real time, in public, with press releases and government announcements and technology conferences where the architects explain exactly what they are building. They call it financial inclusion. They call it digital identity. They call it a connected economy. The language is carefully chosen to sound like progress. But the architecture, the actual technical architecture of what is being built, matches the description in Revelation 13 with a precision that should stop every person reading this cold. Here is what makes the second beast so effective. It does not ask for your soul. It asks for your phone number, your email address, your biometric data, your spending history, your location, your social connections. Each request seems small. Each one seems reasonable. Each one comes attached to something you want, a service, a convenience, an access point to something you need. And every single one of those data points becomes a link in a chain. The chain is almost complete. But there is one piece of the second beast's operation that has received almost no attention outside of very specific circles. One component that was described in Revelation 13 in a way that seemed impossible until approximately 15 years ago. The image. Revelation 13 says the second beast creates an image of the first beast, and that image is given the ability to speak. And those who refuse to engage with that image, who refuse to participate in the system it represents, are cut off. For centuries, theologians debated what that image could possibly mean. They are not debating anymore, because the image is here. It has a name, it has a function, and it is operating at a scale that Revelation 13 described as global. That is Section 5, and it will change how you see every screen in your life. Every screen is an altar. That sounds extreme. It is meant to, because the reality of what has been built and how completely it has been accepted requires language strong enough to match the scale of what happened. Revelation 13 describes an image of the beast, an image that speaks, an image that people are directed to engage with, and that those who refuse to engage with face consequences. Economic consequences, social consequences, exclusion from the system. For most of church history, that description produced confusion. What kind of image speaks? What kind of image carries that level of authority? What kind of image could achieve global reach? The answer arrived in stages. First came television. A speaking image, yes, but passive. It spoke at you. It could not respond. It could not track. It could not adapt to you specifically. It was powerful, but it was not the image described in Revelation 13. Because the image in Revelation 13 is interactive. It has a relationship with each individual. It knows each individual, and each individual must respond to it. Then came the internet. Closer, much closer. Now the image could respond, could adapt, could track behavior, preferences, location, relationships, but it still required human curation, human decision-making at every level. It was a tool, a powerful tool, but still a tool. Then came artificial intelligence, and the image found its voice. What AI represents, not in theory, but in operational reality right now, is an image that speaks with authority, adapts to each individual, shapes perception at scale, and is being embedded into every system that governs daily life. Financial systems, healthcare systems, legal systems, educational systems, government systems, military systems. Every system that determines what you can access, what you can do, and what your life looks like is now being handed to an image that speaks. And here is the detail that should lock this into place for you. The largest AI systems in the world are not neutral tools. They are trained on specific data, by specific entities, with specific objectives. They reflect the values, the priorities, and the agenda of the powers that built them. When that AI tells you what is true, it is telling you what its builders want you to believe is true. When it shapes your search results, your social feed, your news, your financial options, it is directing your behavior on behalf of the system that created it. That is not a technology critique. That is Revelation 13 in operational form. But there is a layer beneath this that most people have not reached yet. The image in Revelation 13 is not just a communication tool. It is a compliance tool. The text says that those who would not engage with the image, who would not participate in the system it represented, were identified and excluded. The image becomes the mechanism of separation between those inside the system and those outside it. Right now, across the world, digital identity systems are being built that tie every form of social and economic participation to a verified digital profile. No access. The infrastructure for that separation is not theoretical. It is operational in multiple countries. It is being expanded through international frameworks with target implementation dates. The image is not coming. The image is speaking right now, and billions of people are responding to it every single day, answering its questions, accepting its terms, submitting their data, confirming their identity, without once considering what they are actually doing. But here is what none of that explains. Here is the piece that ties the entire chapter together. The piece that makes this moment different from every other moment in history. The sign nobody expected. It just appeared, and it is hiding in the one place nobody thought to look. There is a sign embedded in Revelation 13 that almost nobody talks about. Not because it is obscure, because it is so specific that most teachers skip past it rather than confront what it actually says. It sits in the middle of the chapter. Plain language, clear description, and it names a condition, a precise condition, that would exist in the world when this system reaches full operational capacity. That condition now exists. For centuries, The discussion around Revelation 13 focused almost entirely on the mark, the number, the economic control system. Those are real. Those are coming. But they are not the sign. The sign is something that precedes the mark, something that makes the mark possible, something that had to exist before the economic control system could function. It is the convergence. Revelation 13 describes a moment when political power, religious authority, technological capability, and economic infrastructure all align under a single system simultaneously. Not sequentially, simultaneously. All four operating together. All four pointed in the same direction. All four interlocked in a way that makes the system self-reinforcing and nearly impossible to exit. For most of human history, those four systems operated independently. Sometimes they overlapped. Sometimes they conflicted, but they never fully merged. There was always friction, always separation, always a gap between what political power wanted and what economic systems allowed. Always a boundary between technological capability and the authority to deploy it universally. That gap is gone. Look at what exists right now. Central bank digital currencies, government-controlled digital money with programmable restrictions built into the currency itself, are in active development or already deployed in over 130 countries. That is political power and economic control merging into a single instrument. Look at the global digital identity frameworks being built by international organizations and governments simultaneously, across nations that agree on almost nothing else. That is political coordination at a scale that has no historical precedent outside of wartime. Look at the AI systems now being granted decision-making authority over who receives financial services, who qualifies for government benefits, who is flagged as a security risk, who is allowed to travel. That is technological capability being given authority that used to belong to human institutions. And look at what happened to religious institutions during and after 2020. Churches closed by government order, worship deemed non-essential, and the vast majority complied without sustained resistance. The boundary between religious authority and state authority, a boundary that societies spent centuries establishing, dissolved in weeks. For systems, all converging, all simultaneously. Right now, that is the sign. But there is a layer to this sign that makes it even more specific. Revelation 13 indicates that this convergence does not feel like a takeover to the people living inside it. It feels like progress. It feels like safety. It feels like the reasonable, responsible response to crisis. The text is clear that the world does not resist this system. The world embraces it, celebrates it, defends it against those who question it. Look around. The people building the digital identity infrastructure call it humanitarian work. The people building the programmable currency systems call it financial inclusion. The people building the AI oversight systems call it safety. The people building the global coordination frameworks call it multilateralism. Every piece of the system that Revelation 13 describes as the mechanism of the beast is being sold to the public as the solution to the world's problems. And the public is buying it. That is not ignorance. That is the deception that was prophesied. The text says the whole world was deceived. Not a portion, not the uninformed, the whole world. Meaning the deception is comprehensive enough, sophisticated enough, and credible enough to fool virtually everyone who does not have a specific reason to look past the surface. This is where the consent mechanism becomes the most important piece of the entire puzzle. Because the system does not work without your participation, and you have already been giving it, in ways you may not have realized, for years. Nobody forced this on you. That is the most important sentence in this entire script. Because the system described in Revelation 13 does not arrive through conquest. It does not arrive through violence or obvious coercion. It arrives through a series of reasonable decisions made by reasonable people in response to real problems. And that is what makes it so effective. Think about the last 15 years of your digital life. Every app you downloaded because it was convenient. Every terms and conditions agreement you accepted without reading. Every loyalty program you enrolled in because the discount was real. Every time you chose the faster checkout, the easier login, the seamless payment, you were making a transaction. Not just a financial transaction, a data transaction, an identity transaction. You were feeding a system that was learning you. Every purchase told the system what you value. Every search told it what you fear. Every location check told it where you go and when. Every social connection told it who influences you. Every click, every scroll, every pause, recorded, analyzed, stored, and fed into a profile that knows you better than most people in your life know you. That profile is not sitting and used in a database somewhere. It is being used right now to make decisions about you. What credit you qualify for, what insurance rate you receive, what news you see, what products reach you, what political content shapes your thinking, what your risk score is inside systems you will never see and were never asked to consent to. You consented the first time you agreed to the terms. But here is the part that matches Revelation 13 precisely. The system is designed so that the cost of not participating escalates continuously. In the early years, opting out meant inconvenience. Now, opting out means losing access to financial services, communication platforms, professional networks, and increasingly, government services. The exit cost has been engineered to be prohibitive. That is not accidental. That is architecture. And the architecture was designed with a specific endpoint in mind, a point at which opting out becomes functionally impossible, where participation in the system is not a choice. It is the only available option for anyone who wants to function in society. That point is not far away. Several countries have already reached versions of it. Nations where a low social credit score, generated by the same kind of algorithmic profiling described above, restricts your ability to travel, to access services, to enroll your children in certain schools, to hold certain jobs. The mechanisms exist. They are operational. They are expanding. And here is what makes this consent mechanism so spiritually significant. Revelation 13 describes the mark as something that people take, not something imposed on them by force in the final stage, something they choose. Because by the time the mark is introduced, the system has already made the alternative unbearable. The consent was engineered long before the moment of decision. The decision point is not ahead of you. The engineering of your consent began years ago, which means the question is not whether you will face this system. You are already inside it. The question is what you do with that knowledge right now, before the next phase activates. And the next phase, the economic phase, is the one that closes the cage. Because everything described so far, the convergence, the image, the consent mechanism, all of it was preparation for one specific capability. The ability to control who can buy and who can sell. And that capability is not theoretical. The infrastructure is complete. Follow the money. You always follow the money. Because money is not just an economic instrument. Money is control. Whoever controls the money controls the behavior of everyone who needs it. And right now, in the most significant financial transition in human history, control over money is being consolidated at a speed and scale that has no historical parallel. Cash is disappearing, not slowly, systematically. In Sweden, cash transactions make up less than 10% of all purchases. In China, entire cities operate on digital payment infrastructure where physical currency is functionally obsolete. In the United Kingdom, bank branch closures have accelerated year over year for a decade. In the United States, the Federal Reserve has been researching and developing a digital dollar, a central bank digital currency that would exist entirely within government-controlled infrastructure. These are not separate trends. They are one trend with one destination. A world where every transaction flows through a system that is monitored, recorded, and controllable by the entities that operate the infrastructure. But central bank digital currencies are not just digital cash. That is the critical distinction that most people miss. Physical cash, once it leaves the bank, is untraceable. It is free. It carries no conditions. A CBDC is the opposite of that. A CBDC is programmable money. Money that can be coded to expire. Money that can be restricted to certain categories of purchases. Money that can be turned off for specific individuals based on criteria set by the issuing authority. The Bank for International Settlements, the central bank of central banks, has publicly stated that CBDCs offer unprecedented controllability over monetary transactions. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a quote from their own published research. Unprecedented controllability over every transaction, of every person, inside the system. Now connect that to the digital identity frameworks being built simultaneously. Because a CBDC without identity verification is just digital cash. But a CBDC linked to a verified digital identity, one that contains your health records, your social behavior data, your compliance history, your political activity, becomes something else entirely. It becomes the mechanism described in Revelation 13. Precisely, completely. the ability to buy and sell, tied to your standing within the system. Your access to the economy determined not by your labor or your resources, but by your compliance, your participation, your allegiance. And here is what makes this moment the most urgent in a generation. The timeline is not vague. The G20 nations agreed to frameworks for cross-border digital identity and digital currency interoperability with specific implementation targets. The International Monetary Fund has published detailed proposals for a global digital currency infrastructure. The World Health Organization's international health regulations, expanded post-2020, include digital health certification requirements tied to travel and economic access. The cage is not being planned. The cage is being installed. And the last piece, the piece that most believers have been trained to look for as a future event, is closer to a present reality than almost anyone in a church pew has been told. Because the question was never whether this system would arrive. The question was always whether people would recognize it when it did. Most won't. Not because they are unintelligent, because they are inside it. Because the system was built to feel normal from the inside. Because by the time it becomes undeniable, the architecture of consent will already be complete. But you are not most people. You are watching this, which means something in you already knows. And what you do with what you know, starting right now, is the only question that matters. This is not a news report. This is a warning. And warnings only have value if the person hearing them does something with the information. So everything that has been laid out, the convergence, the second beast, the image, the consent mechanism, the economic infrastructure, none of it matters unless it produces a response in you. Not fear. Fear is not the point. Fear paralyzes. Fear makes people retreat into denial or spiral into anxiety. Fear is not what Revelation 13 was written to produce. It was written to produce clarity. The kind of clarity that cuts through the noise of daily life and forces an honest reckoning with what is actually happening. So here is the honest reckoning. You are living in the most prophetically significant moment in human history. Not approximately, not symbolically, literally. The systems described in Revelation 13, political consolidation, technological deception, economic control, manufactured consent, are all operational simultaneously for the first time since that chapter was written. That means the timeline is moving, and spiritual preparation is not a passive activity. It is not simply believing the right things while continuing to participate fully in a system that is being constructed for a specific anti-God purpose. Spiritual preparation requires decision. Deliberate, costly, countercultural decision. What does that look like practically? It starts with your dependency. Where is your life anchored? If your ability to function, financially, socially, professionally, is entirely dependent on systems that are being consolidated under the architecture described in Revelation 13, that dependency is a vulnerability. Not just practically, spiritually. The early church understood this. They operated in a Roman Empire that required participation in the imperial economic and religious system. And they chose, repeatedly and at great personal cost, to maintain their allegiance to something outside that system. That choice produced persecution. It also produced a faith that survived and outlasted the empire that tried to crush it. The question is whether this generation has the same resolve. And here is what makes that question so urgent right now. The window between awareness and impossibility is closing. There is a period, and history shows this clearly, between when a control system is being built and when it is fully operational, where exit is still possible, where alternatives still exist, where community, preparation, and deliberate spiritual anchoring can create a life that is not entirely captured by the system. That window is open right now. It will not be open indefinitely, which means the response to everything in this video cannot be passive. It cannot be watching another video. It cannot be sharing this content and returning to normal life. It has to be a genuine, internal reckoning with what you are building your life on, and whether that foundation will hold when the system described in Revelation 13 reaches full operational capacity. Because it is reaching that capacity, faster than almost anyone predicted. And there is one final piece, one development, one specific, recent activation that ties everything in this video together and confirms that the timeline is not years away. It is not months away. And what just happened in the last few weeks is something that the architects of this system have been working toward for over a decade. You need to hear this. In March of this year, Something was activated quietly. No press conference. No headlines on the major networks. No breaking news alerts. It moved through the financial and technology press in language so technical and so buried in institutional announcements that virtually nobody outside of specific monitoring circles caught it. But it was the piece that completes the architecture. For years, across multiple videos, across multiple years of watching this system develop, there has been one missing component. One piece of the Revelation 13 infrastructure that was described but not yet deployed. One capability that the system needed before the economic control mechanism could function at global scale. That piece required three things to exist simultaneously: a universal digital identity standard, a programmable currency infrastructure with cross-border interoperability, and an AI-driven compliance layer capable of making real-time decisions about individual access based on behavior data. All three of those things now exist. And in March, for the first time, they were tested together. In a coordinated pilot involving multiple central banks, multiple governments, and a technology infrastructure that has been in development for 11 years. The test was not announced as a milestone. It was framed as a routine interoperability exercise. It was not routine. It was the moment the system breathed for the first time as a complete, functioning unit. The results of that test have not been made public in full, but the framework documents, published quietly across 3 separate institutional websites within a 10-day window, contain language that matches the operational description of what Revelation 13 calls the mark system with a specificity that goes beyond coincidence. Specific language about access tiers, about compliance scoring, about the conditions under which economic participation can be suspended for individuals who fall outside defined parameters, parameters that have not yet been defined publicly. But here is what has been made clear. The next phase, the phase that moves this from pilot to deployment, has a target date. That date is not in the distant future. It is inside the timeline that most people reading this will live to see. And the deployment does not require new legislation in most participating countries. The legal frameworks were built in advance. Quietly, incrementally, the infrastructure is complete. The test was successful. The deployment timeline is set. And there is one more detail. One specific document, published by one of the participating institutions, that contains a single paragraph, buried on page 47, that describes what happens to individuals who cannot be verified within the system. That paragraph uses language that should not exist in a financial document.